Solving real-life problems involving functions. General Mathematics, Module 1, Lesson 4. Let us now recall on how to evaluate function. Consider f of x is equal to 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. Find f of negative 3 and f of square root of 2. Let us start with the first one, f of negative 3. So you have observed that our x value here is negative 3. From the given function, we will now substitute the value of x, which is negative 3. So we have f of negative 3 is equal to 2 times negative 3 squared minus 3 times negative 3 plus 1. And simplify. So since we all know that negative 3 squared, that is positive 9. So we have 2 times 9 and negative 3 times negative 3 is equal to positive 9 and plus positive 1. And now, we will now simplify this. So 2 times 9 is 18. Then copy positive 9 and positive 1. Then we will add 18 plus 9 plus 1. And this is 28. So f of negative 3 is 28. Let us proceed to number 2. F of square root of 2. So the x value here is square root of 2. From the given function, we will now substitute the value of x. So we have f of square root of 2 is equal to 2 times square root of 2 squared minus 3 times square root of 2 plus 1. Then simplify. So since the square root of 2 squared, it means that is positive 2. So we have 2 times 2. While negative 3 times square root of 2, so we can simplify this by writing negative 3 square root of 2 plus 1. Then simplify. So we have 4 minus 3 square root of 2 plus 1. So you have observed that we have constant terms. The other constant term with a radical, we cannot combine that to the terms without radical sign. So the answer is 4 plus 1 is 5. Then copy negative 3 square root of 2. So f of square root of 2 is 5 minus 3 square root of 2. Now, let us now proceed to a piecewise function. Now, you have observed that in a piecewise function, we are given different subfunctions. In this function, our first subfunction is x plus 2. And this function is only defined for all values of x which is less than negative 3. Anong ibig sabihin ng x less than negative 3? Ang ibig sabihin nito na we can only use this function kung ang x natin ay negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, and all values that is less than negative 3. In our second subfunction, we have x squared minus 4. So in this function, the domain is only defined from negative 3 to positive 5, where negative 3 is included and positive 5 is not included. Ano yung ibig sabihin nito? It means that yung x value lang na pwede natin gamitin for our second subfunctions are negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You have observed, hindi kasali si 5 kasi walang equal sign. That will define 5 at this given subfunction. Now, the third subfunction is defined as x. It means that all values of x must be greater than or equal to 5. Anong ibig sabihin nito? It means that we can only use this function if the domain or our x are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so on and so forth. Now, let us now evaluate the following. F of negative 6, f of 4, f of 7, f of negative 3, and f of 5. So now, let us start with f of negative 6. Now, before we're going to answer this, titingnan muna natin sa ating piecewise function kung saan natin makikita ang domain na negative 6. At kung saan siya nabilong, yun yung subfunction ang gagamitin natin. Katulad nito, if x is negative 6, saan natin makikita ang negative 6? Correct. Napapansin nyo, ang negative 6 ay nasa first subfunction. It means that we will use f of x is equal to x plus 2. Then, we will now substitute the value of x, which is negative 6. So we have negative 6 plus 2, then simplify. So f of negative 6 is negative 4. Now, in second example, we have f of 4. Balikan natin yung domain natin. Saan ba natin makikita si 4? Kung napapansin nyo, makikita natin ang 4, ang domain na 4, sa second subfunction. It only means that we will only use x squared minus 4 at this time. So just substitute the value of x, which is 4, is equal to 4 squared minus 4. Then 4 squared, that is 16, minus 4, and f of 4 is equal to 12. Now, how about f of 7? Okay, balikan natin yung domains natin. Nasaan ba yung 7 natin na belong? Is it the first subfunction, second subfunction, or third subfunction? Kung napapansin nyo, nasa third subfunction siya. It only means that we will use the third subfunction. So we will use f of x is equal to x. Ngayon, since our x value is 7, we will now substitute the value of x. So we have f of 7 is equal to 7. So ito na yung value ng f of 7 natin. Number 4, f of negative 3. Ngayon, ang x natin ay negative 3. Para malaman natin kung anong subfunction ang gagamitin natin, titingnan natin ang domain. Saan ba makikita si negative 3? Kung napapansin nyo, si negative 3 ay makikita sa second subfunction. Ang ibig sabihin nito, ang second subfunction ang gagamitin natin. F of x is equal to x squared minus 4. At isa-substitute natin si negative 3. So meron tayong f of negative 3 is equal to negative 3 squared minus 4. At isi-simplify natin ito, meron tayong 9 minus 4. At 9 minus 4 ay 5. So f of negative 3 ay 5. Number 5, f of 5. Again, hahanapin natin sa domain natin ang 5. At ang 5 ay makikita natin sa subfunction na x. So sa third subfunction natin. Ngayon, meron tayong f of x is equal to x. At isa-substitute natin ang x, meron tayong f of 5 is equal to 5. So ito na ang value ng f of 5 natin. Ngayon, natatandaan niyo na kung paano mag-evaluate ng function. Ngayon, susubukan naman natin ang mga problems involving evaluating functions. Problem solving is essential in the application of concepts in learning mathematics. It trains every learner to be critical thinkers. It involves the translation of word statements into mathematical expressions or equations. Example number 1. The owner of a small restaurant can prepare a particular meal at a cost of 100 pesos. He estimates the menu price to be 150 pesos. If we let X be the number of customers and 3/4 of them ordered that meal, express his day revenue, total cost, and profit on this meal as functions of X. Given, cost price of the meal is 100 pesos. Selling price is 150 pesos. Number of customers, let X. Number of customers who ordered the meal, since there are 3/4 of the number of customers who ordered that meal, therefore we can also convert this in decimal form. So 3/4 is equivalent to 0.75. Therefore, 0.75x is the number of customers who ordered the meal. To find the revenue for that day, we will use the equation customers who order the meal times selling price. Now, we will represent revenue as R of X is equal to 0.75x times 150 pesos. Now, R of X is equal to 112.5x. So the revenue for that day with respect to the number of customers is 112.5x. Total cost is equal to the cost price of the meal times customers who ordered the meal. We will now represent the total cost as C of X is equal to 100 pesos times 0.75x. So, the total cost with respect to X or number of customers is equal to 75x. Profit is equal to revenue minus total cost. Since we already have a revenue and a total cost, we will now substitute this to the formula of our profit. Now, profit, we will represent this as P of X is equal to 112.5x minus 75x. Therefore, the profit with respect to the number of customers is equal to 37.5x. Now, find the revenue, total cost, and profit if there are 30 customers that day. So we will now use the formulas that we obtained. So the revenue or R of X is equal to 112.5x, while the cost with respect to X is equal to 75x, and the profit with respect to X is equal to 37.5x. Now, since there are 30 customers, we will now find the revenue with respect to 30 customers. So we will now substitute the value of X, which is 30. So R of 30 is equal to 112.5 times 30. So R of 30 is equal to 3,375 pesos. Therefore, the revenue for that day is 3,375 pesos. Now, to determine the total cost for that day, so we will use C of X is equal to 75x. Since there are 30 customers, so we will have C of 30. So we will substitute the value of X to 30, which is 75 times 30. Now, C of 30 is equal to 2,250 pesos. It only means that the total cost for that day with 30 customers is 2,250 pesos. Now, to determine the profit, we will use P of X is equal to 37.5x. So, since there are 30 customers, we will now substitute the value of X to 30. So, P of 30 is equal to 37.5 times 30. Then, P of 30 is equal to 1,125 pesos. Therefore, the profit with respect to 30 customers for that day is that 1,125 pesos. Example number 2. A jeepney ride costs 9 pesos for the first 4 kilometers, and each additional integer kilometer adds 1 peso and 25 centavos to the fare. How much will you pay if you traveled 7 kilometers? Okay, this problem is an example of a piecewise function. It means that it consists of 2 or more sub-functions. Now, to represent this problem, we will use f of d. It means that the jeepney fare with respect to the distance it traveled. Now, since we have 2 sub-functions in this given problem, the first sub-function is 9 pesos. We can only apply this first sub-function if the domain is 0 less than d less than or equal to 4. So, anong ibig sabihin nito? We can only use the first sub-function kung ang na-travel ng jeep ay 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, hanggang 4 kilometers. Now, paano kung more than 4 kilometers? Okay, dito na papasok yung second sub-function natin. Since according to the problem, that each additional integer kilometer adds 1 peso and 25 centavos to the fare. So we can represent this as 9 pesos plus 1 peso and 25 centavos times D minus 4. So since we can only apply this function if D is greater than 4. Now, ano ibig sabihin ng D is greater than 4? Now, we can only apply the second subfunction if you traveled 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers, 7 kilometers, 8 kilometers, 9 kilometers, and so on, so forth. To answer this question, how much will you pay if you traveled 7 kilometers? Ngayon, titingnan muna natin sa domain kung saan natin makikita yung 7 kilometers. Kung napapansin nyo, ang 7 kilometers ay makikita natin sa second subfunction. Ibig sabihin nito, gagamitin natin ang second subfunction. So we will use f of d is equal to 9 pesos plus 1.25 pesos times d minus 4. Then substitute the value of d, which is 7. So we have f of 7 is equal to 9 pesos plus 1.25 pesos times 7 minus 4. Then we have 9 pesos plus 1.25 pesos times 3. Then we will get 9 pesos plus 3.75 pesos. And if we're going to add this, we have 12 pesos and 75 centavos. So if you traveled 7 kilometers, you will pay 12 pesos and 75 centavos. Since you already know how much will you pay if you traveled 7 kilometers, now, how about if you traveled 2 kilometers? How much will you pay? Back to the piecewise function at hahanapin natin ang 2 kilometers. Now, kung napapansin nyo, ang 2 kilometers ay nasa first subfunction, ibig sabihin nito, gagamitin natin ang first subfunction. So, we have f of d is equal to 9 pesos. Then substitute the value of d, which is 2. So, f of 2 is equal to 9 pesos. So, you will pay 9 pesos if you traveled 2 kilometers. Example number 3. The budget of a company is split evenly among its various departments. If they have an annual budget of 1,200,000 pesos, first, construct a function b of n which show the amount of money each of the n number of departments would receive. Second, if there are 8 departments, how much is the share of each? Third, how much is the share if there are 10 departments? Let us now construct a function b of n. b of n is equal to 1,200,000 pesos divided by n, which is the number of departments. Number 2, if there are 8 departments, how much is the share of each? Now, using the function b of n, we will substitute the value of n to 8. So we have b of 8 is equal to 1,200,000 pesos divided by 8. The result is 150,000 pesos. So each department will receive 150,000 pesos. Now, how much is the share if there are 10 departments? Okay, using the function b of n, we will substitute the value of n to 10. So b of 10 is equal to 1,200,000 pesos divided by 10, which is 120,000 pesos. So each department will receive 120,000 pesos.